Welcome back to the Beat the Odds Horse Racing Show. And we're here with Kentucky Derby winning jockey Junior Alvarado. Junior, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. How's your day going?
Tony, how are you? Thanks for having me. Just it's a good day so far.
Good. You back in New York for this week?
Yeah, back to New York. Was in Kentucky down after Saratoga for a few days, and now we're back home here, just relaxing a couple days, and then we start again this week.
Yep, Belmont, at Belmont at Aqueduct or something like that.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Well, the first thing I wanted to ask you was what made you want to be a jockey? When did you get into horse racing?
Yeah, I think since I have memory, I wanted to be a jockey because my dad was a jockey, so I was a big fan and
Yeah.
and and it runs in the blood since, like I say, was born. So, then I think growing up, I moved to a city in Venezuela where there was not much of racing, there was no really horse area. So I think I started practicing baseball and like I say, when I turned 13, 14, everybody kind of grew up, got taller, and still little. So I figured that that wasn't gonna be for me. So, I wanted to start riding horses, but like I said, with no horses around, so I had to go. I had to finish high school, and then I moved to Valencia, which was a place where they have racetrack there, and that's where I started it. But it was probably in my blood already from the beginning.
Uh-huh. So you didn't go to jockey school or anything. You just worked your way up to being through the barn and then getting on horses in the morning and
Yes, like when I went to Valencia, yeah, it was already a school there. It was about to start riding, to start the jockey start, riding. So,
uh-huh.
it was very late for that one. So the other one was gonna open up in a year and a half later. So, I just, had to do that, like I said, the thing on my own the hard way, but
That's right.
it paid off.
That's absolutely it did. Do you remember your first win?
Yeah, I did. I did. It's very funny because my first win was December 30, remember? And I finished second. The horse, the wing, kind of shut me off a little bit
Oh,
and won, and I got put
uh-huh.
up.
Okay.
So, funny story about that is my dad happened almost the same thing, but backwards. My dad won his first race, crossed the wire first, and he got taken down to second. So it was, very
That's
kind of like,
unbelievable.
similar story, but like reverse. So
That's unbelievable.
yes, yes.
So, like people that don't know much about horses, they might think like a jockey just gets on in the morning, get on in the afternoon and races for 2 minutes and then goes to the next one. What is like your daily routine on like a busy, like a Saturday? Like what time do you get up? Do you work out horses in the morning? What talk about like your day-to-day life?
Day-to-day life, it could change, it just depends where you are, I mean, I think if you're like, let's say we're in Saratoga, Saratoga is
Uh-huh.
very busy, there's maybe one day in the week, maybe a Tuesday might be my day off in the mornings, the rest of the week I was working horses every morning and racing every afternoon from Wednesday through Sunday. But yeah, I mean, I got to ride a lot of horses in the morning there, and I get in some of the horses that I'm supposed to ride in the afternoon, and sometimes I just need to help some other trainers, even though I wasn't riding the horses. I was gonna ride different horses, but they still needed
Mhm.
help, and you do that. But I think at this point, where I am, I don't need really to need to work the horse in the morning for the most part. I think, when I go in the afternoon, I watch a replays, I get a little understanding on it. And, I think for me, what I learned about the horses in the post parade, you get those kind of like 6 to 8, 10 minutes where you kind of connect with the horse, you're warming up, take it away from the pony, then you kind of feel like what he likes, what he doesn't like, like I said, I think probably since 2019, 2018, I think I started developing that connection with the horses. I tried to understand. I wanted to up my game, try to get better somehow, Staying in New York is not easy, You have to be very competitive. Riding at the highest level with the best of the best jockeys. So I figured I needed to try to connect more with the horses to try to get the best of them since, most of the time I don't feel like I'm riding the favorite, unless I'm riding the ones for Mr. Mud. So I
Mhm.
think that actually that helped me a lot to understand a lot about the horses and like I say, I think I get the most of them when you get to connect and the post parade with them.
That actually leads me into my next question. Like, how do you prepare for like a big race? Are you like a watch the you actually pointed out that you watch the replays? Are you like a handicapper? Like you know who's going to lead, where I need to be? How do you prepare for that if you're like riding a horse for the first time?
Well, normally, I stood like I said, I study my horse and I see where
Yeah,
I probably will think that I want it to be. Everything still, it could change when you open the gate.
absolutely.
At the same time, you have to study especially when are bigger races. I like to study every single horse. I like to see where's the best way for them to beat them. Like I know this horse like to be in the lead, so maybe if he doesn't break good, I try to cut it off and try to
Mhm.
get in front of him, so that way I can cut his chances. If a horse like don't like to be in between horses and I'm on the outside, am I gonna keep my horse in the outside just to keep him
Yep,
between horses? You try to pick every detail in other different horses just to, like I said, the most information you have going into a big race, you can use it in the race and use it in your advantage for sure.
absolutely. So the next thing is, what is the best thing about being a jockey, and a thing that you don't like, but yeah, you have to do, like the
Uh,
worst thing.
Best thing I liked about the jockey is like there is nothing like winning, especially when you win a great one.
Mhm.
Or that you put on into it for so many years, like this year winning the Kentucky Derby, the top of the top. 2 years ago, I got to win the Saudi Cup. I didn't have nobody around me, family-wise, to celebrate that win, but I'll tell you, that was an amazing
I
feeling when I
bet.
crossed the wire with Senor Buscador in Saudi Arabia.
I
So,
bet.
I think that's the main
Mhm.
goal. When you win the races, that's is nothing like it. And what I don't like that I need to do probably go to the hot box, and I still have to do it. And I'm not a I would say I'm in the medium level. I'm not the heaviest, I'm not the lightest. I'm in the medium where I need to sometimes watch what I eat, but I still will have to kind of maybe go and lose a pound and a
Mhm.
half per day just to when I have to ride those light horses with 117 or 118.
I think that's every jockey though. They need to check.
Yeah, I think 85% of the jockeys you will see them in the hot box. Some sadly, have to spend more time than others. But
Mhm.
you got to do what you got to do.
Yep, and I think I could have answered the best part because just hearing you in those post race interviews, you could tell that there's no better joy than winning.
Yes, it's nothing like it. Like I said, I mean, you kind of prepare yourself. You've been working for all that, but still you cross the wire, and it's that feeling.
Absolutely.
Like I say, is unmatchable.
Especially like Senor Busco, where he came from the clouds and he got
Exactly.
up.
Yes,
I,
yes,
I,
that
I,
that,
I
that was
watched that
one
race.
a big one. Yeah, that race was, like I said, I wasn't. It's not that I wasn't expecting it, but like when I went there and said like, well, maybe if I hit the board at four, a
Absolutely.
third will be almost like a win because a
Yeah.
big purse with finishing four and third is a big, big, big purse money I can get there. I can get a big check just finishing four or third, and just crossing the wire and like I won it. Like it was just insane, like a good feeling actually.
He really popped off in the race before that in the Pegasus, and then he ran really nice there as well. And then,
Yeah, like it's funny because I got him. He came to for first to New York to the Cigar Mile,
yeah.
and I finished second. Hoist the Gold beat me that day. They sealed the track. I remember the track was super fast, carrying a lot of speed. I was last, finishing second. Then in the Pegasus, which is another track, we carry a lot of speed, like Gulfstream Park. You really can make a lot of ground there, and he still made that much ground and almost beat National Treasure at the end. And it kind of was setting it up. I think I took the horse right at his peak, right when he's doing his bed, and lucky I was on it. And we got to pull. If I had to choose a race, I think I pulled the right one.
Absolutely. And that point exactly was why I love sovereignty in the Kentucky Derby. I mean, he was at Gulfstream Park with speed holds, and then you get to Churchill Downs, the mile and a quarter, that long ass stretch. And I was like, I love this horse, and y'all did it.
Yeah, 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 I think that's what it was, and like I was saying before in many other interview before the Kentucky Derby, it's like, I never felt that Bill actually was training him. He was
Hmm.
just letting him do things on his
Yeah,
own since he was doing it so easily, and he still was winning races and running good. He was saving the best
just for
for
that
the
day.
Derby. That was the goal, and I think since the Derby, that he kind of went into a real training schedule.
Hmm.
Everybody can see the
Hmm.
difference now between the Derby, how he went in the Belmont, and the gym Dundee, he got kind of like a break because we just a
Yeah,
prep. Then once again, you see how good he was and the in the Travers.
that was incredible.
Yes.
I mean, he just pushed a button, he was gone.
Yeah, it's a good horse, like I say, like, it's almost, it's not exactly a push button, you push the button and then you have to kind of ride him for a good 16 of
Yeah.
a mile. And after that, when he already warms up those engine, I mean, he just like unstoppable, he just start getting faster and
Mhm.
faster and faster. And, the farther you go, I think the faster he gets.
Yeah. Maybe it was a little optical illusion with magnitude going backward and y'all just took off.
Yes, exactly. There's a lot of good horses, that are just mile and an eighth at their game, and it's just like when they hit that extra eighth of a mile to get to the mile and a quarter, it's just hard for them. And I think that's when my horse actually, like I say, he just keep getting faster and faster.
Yeah, that's right. It surely looks like it.
Yes,
So, what is your favorite track to race at?
Saratoga.
No doubt. And
Yes.
then
Now,
your least favorite.
least favorite. Let's say least favorite. You know what? I know. I don't want to say least favorite. I just feel sometimes frustrated a little bit because I felt my horses don't run well in that track. I don't feel like I do anything wrong. Is where they run this race. It's like the race. Skipping on Stocking have won twice. Our collector won it twice. It's Charleston.
Charlestown.
Yes, yes, yes. I don't feel very lucky. I've been there a couple times, a big race, and I've won one of those like sprinter 7 furlong race. But it's just like that kind of track that you have to kind of ride all the way around.
The
Even
bull
if it's
ring.
a mile race, it's
Yeah,
just like crazy. I don't feel you give the horse a breather. You have to go, go,
gotta
go,
go.
go, 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 go. And I think if I had to say, that would be probably my least race track.
Well, there's not many tracks like that. It's a bull ring, and you got that one.
Exactly.
You got
Yes.
Delta Downs here in Louisiana. That's like that. It's definitely a different test than you see
Yes, exactly. And I just think that.
364 days out of the year.
Right, exactly. Yes. I just think the kind of horses that I ride, are horses, that normally like to come off the pace, horses that like to take a breather. And I think when I go there and you kind of have to ride and you get them off the rhythm and then, you just don't get the best of them.
That's right. So I kind of wanted to break this interview up to into different parts. The first was about like yourself and your preferences and like what you do. Now I want to get into some of the horses that you've ridden. We kind of touched on that. And I'll like you've ridden some great ones like Senor Buscador we touched on, Olympiad, Just FYI, Art Collector. But I really want to touch on Cody's Wish. And what was that like being a part of that story?
It's different, completely
I
different.
bet.
I just think it was something that the eye can really see.
Uh-huh.
What I mean? Something beyond of what we probably understand and can see it. I'll be honest, I did not believe what was happening until the day that I won the British Cup Mile, which was actually my first British Cup Mile, and I did enjoy it. But
Damn,
I think that's when it kind of really hits
really
me
clicked.
that what was happening. It was something that I would probably never understand, but it was actually something that was happening real and magic and very special, and I think, I start understanding and for me, it was a lot of pressure, different kind of pressure. I never felt any pressure riding any grade one. And nobody put any pressure on me, not even Billy Mott, no Godolphin people, nobody. But I just, you know, I was taking that like so like serious at that point, and I didn't want to be the guy let's say later on in life, everybody say, "Oh, that horse! Remember the horse?" And the jockey messed up this race. You know, he couldn't be this kind of horse. He would be like win, win, win. And this,
Mhm.
I said like, I don't want that on me. You know, I don't want to be the villain of this story, like I said many times before. You know, so it was a whole different meaning, like leading into every race, and I think winning every race was very, very enjoyable, but in a whole different level. It was
Mhm.
just not any like any other race, great one that I ever won or any
Absolutely.
kind of different race. It's just like I said, I just think everything was just in a different
It's
level.
different.
Period.
Yep.
Yes,
I mean, that was one of the best stories in horse racing history.
absolutely, absolutely. And to me, when I started understanding, it was not just because not when I keep crossing the wire first. I think
Mhm.
I was in Churchill down, and I won that race in Churchill, and I remember going to take the pictures, and Cody Dorman was there,
Mhm.
and the horse there tried to set the horse to stop so they can take the picture in the winner's circle, and the horse keep going forward, 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 and moving, 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 and then we go around one second time. Then again, the guy tried to stop the horse, picture nothing. The horse keep going forward, and then I tried to hold him. I couldn't. None of the two couldn't hold him.
Mhm.
Third time, I'm saying like, just let it walk maybe a little more forward, and we let the people move a little more to the
Back.
other side. Like he wants to stop where he wants to stop. Oh, then we go the third time, and then we're gonna let him and walk to see where he's gonna stop because he wasn't, just keep going aggressively. He was slowing down, but he still want to keep moving forward. So we did that. All he wanted to do is just go and put the head right on the kid's lap.
That
It
is
was
unbelievable.
like this. Oh, it gives me chills. Like it's this unbelievable things. Like you gotta be kidding me. He did that for probably like, let's say, I think maybe like 5, 6, 7, 8 seconds, which was doesn't seem that long, but when you're in there and looking at that and everything kind of stops around you when you seen that, then it feels it was long, and then the horse picks up his head, start walking, then we fix him, and then he stood up for his picture,
That's
and that
what he
was
wanted
it.
to do.
It's like I need to, meet with him first, and then we get the pictures. Like I need to do what I wanted to do first. That was his, claiming that's what he wanted to do, and he did that twice while I was writing it. And like I say, when you're in top and you know what he's doing, it's just unbelievable. Even hard to explain. There's something people need. You just need to see that in person to understand.
Absolutely. That's incredible.
Yeah.
And then that last Breeders' Cup Mile, that was a dogfight to the end. That was incredible.
Yes, it's just I think he was just a great miler horse. I
Mhm.
think he could have gone fine mile and an A, as long as it was like, if it would have like a mile and an A like we have in Belmont Park, which one stretch
Mhm.
run, not two turns, he would be fine with that. I think he just struggled with the two turns, and you know that race I remember picking it up, picking it up, picking it up, and I can see National Treasure, and I said like, "Ah, this is buffer horses. You just don't go by like that.
No,
Period. They'll fight."
like
So I knew what was coming, and when I remember Flavian kind of coming out to meet my horse, then he brushed me a little bit, and I can feel my horse pinching his ear, and then leaning his body toward him, fight like
mhm.
like in a mean way, fighting back like, you don't push me like that. And I'm like trying to like, let's go forward, like we're about to win the race. I don't want to get into this fight right now. Let's
No.
let's just win the race,
Mhm.
and yes, I mean, you use that head-to-head bubble thing right there,
Unbelievable.
and you just, as dramatic as you can have an ending, like with the claiming foul that it felt for us, it was like
Oh,
the
that's
longest
right.
claiming that,
That's
ever been into it. Yeah, it
that's
felt like
right.
forever, never ending. And, you know, at some point, I remember, I can't even remember who it was when people say, well, they take this horse down, they will burn down Santa
Yes.
Anita, blah, blah.
100%. 100%.
So, I'm laughing at that, but I'm nervous. I'm saying, well, it's Bob Baffert too, like
Sure.
this is
He
his
runs that
place here.
he runs that
He owns
place. Yep.
this place almost. So it was. then when they left off the number, like, I think I felt like my soul just come back to my body.
That's
Unbelievable, just
incredible.
incredible feeling. Like I
That's
say, like never experienced nothing like it before.
that's. I mean, the story was over. I mean, that was his last start. Cody
Like,
sadly passed the next day. I mean,
yes, yes. It's just like I say, with something that they had in common, that they might have talked to each other and tell each other, when I'm done here, I will leave Earth in peace. And I think that was their deal. That was they have said to each other, and that's what was set up for them. And it's just like I say, there's some things out there that is more powerful than what we really know and understand.
absolutely. Wow. Now, the next horse I want to talk about is the champ, Sovereignty. What is it like being on a horse like that?
He's very easy horse. I think just, good horses are very easy. I'm not gonna say that about Cody's Wish though. He was completely the opposite. He was very difficult to ride. I think this guy is very easy. There is nothing too much to it, especially right now. I think right now that he, like I said, since he's got into a training program, now he knows what's supposed to do. I think mentally now he's getting 100% to where he needed to be. And I think now he knows how to do his job. He breaks and put himself now close, and I'm just sit there. Normally, I think between the 5 pole to the half of my pole, I can feel when he kind of like jumps the bridle a little bit, kind of like telling me like I'm ready. So at that point, I'm not that, like, whenever I need to start picking it up, I'll do my job, and then he'll follow with me. And yes, I mean, he just been very easy. First time out, I remember we come out the cloud. It was just a 6 furlong race. It was just a teaching lesson, and he did very well. Second time out, when we finished second to an aqueduct, and it was first time going a mile. That's when I thought, like, this is gonna be a nice horse. We finished second, but it was just a gallop out. It was not normal gallop out. He was running furious after the wire. A lot of horses gallop out strong, just gallop out. This horse was still running
That's
strong
incredible.
at easy eighth of a mile after the wire. For the first time going that far, I was like, whoa. I remember calling Belmont after the race, heading home. I called him and told him, Bill, this is one of the best 2-year-old I think I ever rode for you since I've been riding for you for the
Yeah,
past 12 years. And yeah, I mean, I think he knew too, but sometimes, you have to wait until the horses start showing a little bit of ability.
of course.
Second thing, is like, we know Bill Maher wasn't gonna ask him to do something that he wasn't ready for. He's letting normally he likes to let the horses develop, grow,
Yep,
and into their own ability, without pushing them. And like I say, just for me seeing that, I know there was still a lot of room to grow, a lot of lanes that we're gonna get
mhm.
faster, faster, and faster. So I was very excited, even with his second race.
That you answered my next question. It was, when did you know this horse was going to be something special?
Yeah, the second time, like I said, I
That's
called Bill,
crazy.
and what it was very funny, I remember, because then the third time I saw him entering church, and I looked at him, it's like, oh, he's entering a stake in the streets. He's still amazing.
Mhm.
So, like, and then I remember even talking with my dad. I probably talked too much to Bill. I might have said more than I wanted to. And like, because now I feel pressure. Like, did I say too much? Then now
Yeah,
he put the maiden in a in a
it's on
in
you.
a stake race.
Yeah.
It's very, very unlikely,
Mhm.
like, for Billy to do something like that. And but like I say, right now where I am sitting, I just think he knew all along his ability at the same time, and he wasn't gonna do something that he didn't feel the horse was capable of handle. So, proving once again, the guy why he's in the Hall of Fame for a long time.
Absolutely. So you go into his 3-year-old season and you have an injury and you have to come off of him for a race. What was that like?
Dude, it's terrible,
Brutal.
terrible, as terrible feeling as anyone can have, and the business is just. It wasn't only the injuries, like the timing. It's never
Terrible.
a good timing, but especially when you're riding one of the best, at least in my knowledge, I knew I was riding probably the best
Mhm.
3-year-old heading into the Derby.
Mhm.
He didn't need to win the Florida Derby at that point because we knew already he had the point,
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
so I knew he was gonna be in the Derby, and it was just like I remember telling the doctor, "What can I do? There is anything you can give me? There is
Mhm.
any shot that I
Mhm.
can get
Get back.
somewhere out of the hospital?" Like I was trying, like that I can numb that area and I can do
Mhm.
my job. And then remember the doctor telling me, "Move your arm. Let me see." And I'm like, couldn't
Oh,
even move in
mm,
an inch, completely
mm,
gone my arm. So I thought that that was it. It's like this is it. It's like I didn't. I remember I wasn't telling anyone, but I was that was what's going through my head. Next day I said like I don't get to come back to the Derby. This horse wins the Derby. I retire because that's how, to me. I felt like this has to be a sign of something telling me
mhm,
like this isn't for you anymore. Or this isn't
mhm,
for you. Period. So
mhm.
is those just all those bad thoughts that goes through your mind when you're like so down like that and like I say you work for to have that kind of horse that could be some time for many jockeys never happen in their career for
Yeah.
some others happen just one time so I felt like this is my time I cannot let that opportunity go so I was very blessed that I healed very quick and like I say, and by the third week after my fall, I was be able to be back riding and getting ready, heading into the Derby.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So obviously you were going into the Derby very confident, and your plan was just to drop back and was it to follow journalism if possible and make it like a two-horse race coming down the lane? What was that like?
I just think I think the main idea was safe ground. We were breaking from the outside, and I
Mhm.
remember during the week I was talking to Bill when we were watching the horse train in Churchill, and he says to me, like one thing we need to do, we need to save ground in one of the stern. Doesn't need to be both,
Yeah.
but it need to be in one. If you don't save ground and any of those two turn, we might as well leave the horse in the barn and we'll scratch the horse. I was like, oh boy. I got like I say, he got his message across very clear. So I say, well, normally the second one is the hardest one, especially with a closer, because you don't want like
Yeah.
I said, I mean, I could try to pull a Calvin Borel one, but
Mm, that's
it's more easy saying than done.
yep.
So I figure, well, it has to be in the first turn somehow, and like I say, I think sometimes just are meant to be, and I think God had that whole plan for me because, like I say, without me even trying hard or try to hustle or
Yeah.
rush or anything like that, I ended up in the rail. By the time we're passing the wire for the first time, I'm like as closest to rails as can be. Nobody's around me. I'm solo there. Got to the backside and I tipped to the fourth lane because I was like, I felt two horses behind. So I was like, I don't want those two horses move early and then
Yeah.
I have to
Trap
wait
you.
for them to clear me for me to go. So it's like, let me put myself in the front lane and then just have a pick to see which one of the horses in front of me right now is a good one to follow. Then I saw Baeza like length and a half in front of me. Then 3 lanes probably I can see journalism. Then when we pass the five pole, Baeza make I don't know, he kind of went back inside for a
Yeah.
little bit. Then that's when I say, well, that's it. I'm going to start moving forward and I'm about to follow journalism because I don't want to have Baeza push me even wider when I'm going to attack journalism. So I start picking, getting little by little. And then, like I said, my horse just full of ton of horse at that point. I was like, we mid race and I feel like my horse just broke out of the game. Like, when I start moving my hands
Mhm.
and that's what I did. You start kind of like creeping behind journalism. I can see he has a clear path. He's moving. So I just follow him. I just did that, and when we hit the quarter pole, I got that feeling that I was like, I'm the only one coming with a strong
Yep.
finish. Like there's nobody behind because when I start moving the five pole, Sadman was one of them behind me, and Joel was the other one with this musing horse, Tistastic. I was like, Tistastic is not faster than my horse. Sadman already tried to push me in when I was moving forward, and he couldn't keep up with me. So it's like there is nobody else coming. I'm the last boss going by. So I knew I was like, and I'm about to go by the horse. So it's crazy when I hit the 8 pole and I'm already in front for probably like 3/4 of a lane, everything start kind of like slow motion on me. And I'm like, feel like I'm riding, and I'm never getting to the wire. I'm never getting to the wire. And, it just the rush of a feeling, this, which is only, I think only you get when you win the Derby, because I haven't had that winning any other great one or any other races, like it seems like all you've been working through, all those memories, those ups and downs, all those injuries. Many times in my career when I have asked for opportunity, people telling me no, and some other where my family always pushed me in hard times, like all those kind of memory, all everything, you start rushing at once, and
Mhm.
it's just like that feeling. Like I say, only you have to win the Derby to know what it is like.
Absolutely. That's what
Yeah.
sets the Triple Crown apart. I mean, especially the Derby. I mean,
Yes,
Derby's the
exactly.
king.
Yes, yes, that's the king of the king. Absolutely, have to agree with you.
Yes. So they decided to skip the Preakness and head to the Belmont. What was that like? I mean, I kind of figured it was going to be that way. Just being around horse racing for 10 years, knowing how Bill trains, he likes to give him some time. What was that like for the jockey of the Derby winner?
I just think going back to the injury when I had it, I just think I just have one thing in mind at that point. Please God, get me healthy, get me
Mhm.
strong to win the Derby. That was
It
it. So I think just when I won the
didn't
Derby,
matter.
is yeah, nothing else would it really mattered. It didn't
Mhm.
matter at all. Didn't bother me. Didn't like when people were asking me, I was like, well, it's fine. Like,
Mhm.
like we want to make sure we take care of horse. I think we can have a good horse for 3-year-old campaign, probably 4-year-old campaign too. So like
That's all.
he Belmont's gonna do what he needs to do to keep the horse going strong. So like I have no problem with that. I want to have a triple crown. Yes, maybe this is not the year for me to have it yet. So I'm fine. So be it.
Uh-huh.
Like I said, I felt so fulfilled that I have won the Derby when I was in a time point that I probably was thinking that I wasn't gonna be able to even ride the Derby. So to me, like I said, like I felt already like I have got a big gift already on my side. So I
Absolutely.
couldn't complain about anything else, to be honest.
And then the Belmont, he looked like even better than he was in the Derby. I mean, that 5 weeks, he looked like a I mean, he was a beast in the Derby. He looked like a different beast in the Belmont.
Yes, he just come out with a different whole game. I remember Brock
Oh,
Sharp put
yeah.
himself right there, tearing the rail. I'm this close. I'm kind of like, he's traveling like he was galloping. I can see every horse moving along, trying hard, and I'm feeling my horse just like, man, he's like into a gallop.
Mhm.
He's not even trying. As I can see all the horses really reaching, and he's just still galloping. So I was like, they're in trouble if it is. That's all going through my mind by the half of my pole, 3 pole, like they all are in trouble if this horse start running this way, this close to the
Yeah.
pace. And I remember when journalists start picking it up, and I was like, I could see everything kind of in a slow motion. I mean, he's picking it up, but that's not gonna be fast enough. This is nothing. Like he can get away from me the way he's picking it up. So I remember putting my horse on the outside and once again sending him right after. And like I say, it feels like my horse passing 2 and 2. Like just very powerful horse that in the Belmont.
I was saying around the far turn, I was like, Junior gets out. This is gonna be one hell of a horse race. And then all of a sudden, y'all blew past me. I was like, this is not a horse race anymore. This is
That was
dope.
it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I always give it a lot of credit because I mean, what journalism did was it's not easy. It's not easy to do. There's not many of the horses that have tried that in the past, 20, 30 years to run all the 3 races of the
Mhm.
Triple Crown. And he did it. And like I say, second, and a win, it takes still a good horse to do what he did. Second, and a win is nothing to be ashamed of.
No, I mean, especially the way he got his win, that was incredible as well.
Yes, exactly.
I thought he was going, one of them was going over the rail in the Preakness.
Ooh, yeah, it was yeah, hairy for a second up there,
Yep,
but he shows that he's a big horse with a big heart.
that's right. He gets that from his sire, I said, Curly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then you said the Jim Dandy was a prep. I mean, he blew the field away, and he probably wasn't even cranked more than 80% for that one, I bet.
Yeah, he was a prep race, Bill feel like, if he has it ready 100%, he probably will bounce because he already give us a good race in the
Mhm,
Belmont. So he say, I just gonna let it be, and I just think he have to prove that he can win just with
mhm.
what we just train him,
Yeah.
and and said like that should be enough. And I remember even saying to me that that's the grade of the communication with me and Bill. He says to me, just if you will win, just win for, you don't have to win for
Yeah.
3, 4, 5 lanes. You're not gonna get paid more money if you
Just
win.
get the
It's
job done.
get paid no matter what for whatever you need. We win by a head, you win by 1 lane, you win by 3 or 4 lanes, you're gonna get paid the same. Don't get to the bottom of the horse if you don't have to. And that's what it did. I ride a race just kind of
Mhm.
measuring, just enough to ask him, but enough not to go to the bottom and enough to get to the wire first. And that's what we did. Use that race as a prep. It was almost like a little more. I'm not gonna say a workout, but it's you ask him a little more, but it's like I say, something that we're just gonna use for build up for the Traver, because that was our Kentucky Derby in the summer.
The Midsummer Derby, baby.
Exactly. Yes.
And
Yes.
then going into the Travers, were you ready for something weird? I mean, it was a five-horse field. I mean, I thought people were gonna maybe try and throw something crazy at you, go slow, trap you in, but it didn't matter. I mean, sovereignty, sovereignty.
Yeah, those races, I hate short field, especially with horses. Weird things always happen. Like I always say, like you want to see something weird, put a very short field, and sometimes like, what the hell is happening? Why this guy doing this? And there was not much speed. I remember it was only magnitude. I
Hmm.
mean, Suicide looked like it has speed, but magnitude was running with a 22, 23 and change, 46 pace. So it's like, well, he's gonna be in front at least with 4 or 5 lanes. I gotta make sure he doesn't get away from me like that. But once again, I broke and I'm sitting where I'm sitting, and I can see those horses in front of me. When we hit the half of my pole, switch lead, everybody kind of like, I can see it. Like I don't think much people can see that when they're watching on TV, but when I'm looking at their action from behind, I can see that was the
Yeah.
time where they're supposed to start picking it up, and they didn't.
Hmm.
My horse, that's when my horse went like ready.
He was
So I was
ready.
like, that's it. I was like, this is it's not gonna be a really much of a race from now on. So start putting my horse on the outside once again, picking it up, and I'll say Vicky Oliver horse gonna put a little bit of a challenge from the quarter pole, maybe a little before past the
Hmm.
316 pole, and once again my horse just pull away. The closer we got to the wire, I think the faster he was getting, and like I said, in a blink of an eye, he just opened up. He was on front by 10
He
already.
put on a show.
Yeah, it was incredible. It was, we were kind of expecting that, but still, you have to run the races. There is no, it's not never an easy race until you
That-
run it.
That's right. Breeders' Cup Classics next for him. How
Yeah,
excited are you?
yeah, that's now our next goal. He's right now sitting right there in Saratoga training. We'll see how Bill can keep the monster in the for that long. He said, I don't know how I'm gonna do this, but he said like that we'll give him some time here and there. I think he's working. His first work after the travel is gonna be, I think, either Friday or Saturday. So
Cool, cool, cool.
yeah, so
He's back on the work tab. That's awesome to hear.
yes, exactly. So he got his good time off after the travel, so
Yep,
he should be very fresh.
good. All right. Our last three questions are going to be kind of fun ones. If you weren't a jockey, what would you see yourself being? Like you said, you liked sports growing up. Would you like to be a professional in that? What do you see yourself being?
I wouldn't like to be a baseball player, but same thing, like I said, like my size wise was that doesn't gonna cut it for me. So you know what, I would probably be on Ocala, maybe working with horses somehow.
Building
I think
business.
like, yeah, like racing babies and selling them,
Mhm.
kind of like the pin hooking thing, but something like that.
Mhm.
I don't think I would like to be a trainer. There's a lot of work. It's like every horse is like having a kid, so too many kids to be worried about. I have my own three kids, so that's a lot for me. So I don't want to have more to take care, like for trainers. So I think that's probably what I would like to do, just to work with babies and maybe sell them growing up as a yearling or 2 year old or
Hmm.
something. I would like to do even later on in life.
Well, it's perfect timing. The Keeneland September sale's going on right now.
Yes, exactly. Yep. Yeah.
What horse that wasn't, I mean, maybe a superstar that you just loved riding? Is there one that just comes to mind? Like,
There is one, yeah, Saginaw. He was a New York bred horse, and man, I won like 10 races with him, and he won few of the New York bred stay horses. He just was a solid horse, very a warrior, he was a warrior horse, and I remember, his last race with me, he did broke down terribly,
oh
and I
no,
think what that's why I never forget it, because the way he broke his leg, it was meant for him to go completely down with me, and he didn't. He somehow
stayed up.
pulled himself up and kept his all four legs right there
Oh,
to don't make me, to don't throw me to the ground. I was protecting it at the same time. And like I say, when I jumped off and I saw it, I was like, I could not believe how this horse
stayed
didn't
up.
go down.
Mm.
So I felt like he did that just to protect me from a bad spill. And like I said, I mean, I won like 10 races with him, maybe 5, 6 stake with him, small stake, like a
Mhm.
100,000. But he was a very neat horse. And like I say, it's a horse that, those kind of horse that, he never was a champion or anything like that, but it was one of my champion in my heart.
That's awesome to hear. Okay, the last really question is kind of like a king of the hill. I think you know where this one's going, but we'll start off with Olympiad or Art Collector. What horse would you choose?
Olympia.
Olympiad, okay, Olympiad or just FYI.
Olympia.
Olympiad, okay. Olympiad or Senor Buscador. You got some hard knocking questions
You
there.
feel me? That's a tough one. Let's say Senor Buscador.
Okay, um Senor Buscador or Cody's Wish.
Cody's wish.
Okay, and then Cody's Wish or Sovereignty. I did.
Sovereignty. Sovereignty.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just hard to top what this guy have done for me in my career.
Absolutely. I mean, he's a beast, and he looks like he's only getting better.
Right, yes, yes, yes. I mean, they both
He's
have done amazing things in my career. I always say, like, telling older shows where, I was in a bad place when I ended up picking Cody's Wish. I was in
oh, okay.
Florida. I was going to stay in Florida and don't come back to New York anymore. And I remember Derby Day, everybody was in Kentucky, so they had this race in Belmont, and Belmont asked me to come, and then I picked them out back here in Belmont, and I got on Cody's Wish. I remember won by 10 that day, maybe more. And I said, like, well, I have to go back to New York to get this horse, because if I'm in Florida, Godolphin will want somebody who's in New York to ride
Yep,
the horse. I was like, I cannot give up this horse. I felt something that day, and he kind of brought me back and put me back where I am right now. So
that's awesome.
yes,
That's awesome. Well, Junior, thank you for coming on. Wish you all the best, and I appreciate you. And you have a great day, and good luck the rest of the year.
Tony, thanks so much again for having me. It was a pleasure to be in your show, and you know where to contact me. Anything else you need me, I'm here for anything.
You're the best. Thank you.
Thank you.